guys, and welcome to Strawberry Inc. In my last episode, I covered the murder of Dee Dee Blanchard. I will continue doing so in this episode. However, this time I will be focusing on her daughter's ex-boyfriend, Nicholas Godejohn. Let's get right into it. Nicholas Godejohn was born on May 20th, 1990 in Big Bend, Wisconsin. He stayed in the area for most of his life. As an infant, Nicholas' parents split up. Throughout most of his life, he never saw his biological father. However, this biological father eventually spoke to the media about his son. He is Bob Godejohn, and it seems like he's a native to Wisconsin as well. After splitting up, his mother Stephanie married his stepfather, Charles Goldhammer. Nicholas completed his schooling in the Big Bend School District. He was always enrolled in public schools. As a child, he was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, dissociative identity disorder, and had a very low IQ. He lived with his parents up until the unforgettable happened. In 2013, Nicholas went to a McDonald's restaurant in Waukesha, Wisconsin, minutes away from his hometown. At the McDonald's, he watched porn on his laptop and stuck his hands under his pants. The restaurant staff believed he had been ejaculating himself. He had been watching porn on his laptop from 10:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m., which was when the Waukesha police arrived. The police approached Nicholas Godejohn and arrested him. He told them that he was just scratching himself, but the cops did not buy his excuse. Nicholas as well had a foldable knife in his pocket. He was then taken to the Waukesha police station and released after being processed. He was arraigned in court and reached a plea deal, pleading no contest. The Waukesha Municipal Court ordered him to pay a fine of $1,000 for disorderly conduct and had his other weapons charge added onto that sentence. Nicholas was Christian and started using the dating website Christian Dating for free. On this site, he met 24-year-old Gypsy Rose Blanchard. They started messaging each other on the website and exchanged Facebook profiles. Nicholas would often discuss sexual topics. Both Nicholas and Gypsy would send nude pictures of each other. Nicholas had a big crush on Gypsy and wanted to meet her in person. Gypsy agreed to that plan and would send him money that she took from her mother. With this money, Nicholas would pay for a taxi that he would request online. He would then walk to a bus stop with the money he got and buy a bus ticket. Nicholas got to Springfield, Missouri on a bus with the money that Gypsy had mailed him. They met at a movie theater and watched a movie together, which was Cinderella, with Gypsy's mother, Dee Dee. According to Nicholas, he and Gypsy went to the bathroom to engage in sexual activity, the women's bathroom. Nicholas would then leave and head back to Wisconsin. However, he would then return once again after Gypsy invited him to, and went to her house on the night of June 9, 2015. Gypsy gave him a knife and elastic gloves, as well as duct tape. She told him to kill her mother, Dee Dee. Nicholas put the gloves on and went into Dee Dee's room. He stabbed her 10 times while she was sleeping. Meanwhile, Gypsy hid under the bathroom sink and covered her ears to not hear her mother screaming. Dee Dee died at the scene. Both Nicholas and Gypsy had sex afterwards and left the home. They went to the Days Inn motel in Springfield, Missouri and spent the night there. They then left for Wisconsin. Gypsy had taken $4,000 from her mother for that trip back. Neighbors of Dee Dee Blanchard, whose real name was Claudine, went to check on her because they had not seen her recently and were close to her. There was a GoFundMe page to raise money for Dee Dee's funeral, which is believed to have been created by Gypsy. Gypsy also wrote a message on Facebook insulting her mother and saying that she was dead, sounding happy about it. Dee Dee is known to have homeschooled Gypsy and convinced her that she was terminally ill. She told Gypsy that she had cancer and claimed to her that she was 19 years old when she was actually 24. This started years earlier. Dee Dee would shave Gypsy's hair off and make her use a wheelchair to look like a cancer patient. She would numb her gums and make her lose teeth. If Gypsy refused to do what Dee Dee told her to do, she would abuse her, at one point cuffing her and tying her to a bed for many days. She would also give Gypsy medications and have her do surgeries, treatments that she never needed. Dee Dee did all of this to make her daughter appear sick and run fundraisers to raise money. Law enforcement had been investigating her for fraud and had a warrant to search her home. Coincidentally, on their way to her home, her neighbors had called the police as well, asking to be let inside the house because they were worried about her since she had stopped posting on her Facebook page. The police arrived and unlocked the home to search it. They as well let the neighbors in. The police found Dee Dee Blanchard's dead body and took it to the Greene County Medical Examiner's office to have an autopsy be conducted. Her death was ruled a homicide by stabbing, and a murder investigation would start. At the same time, Dee Dee's neighbors were worried about Gypsy because she had vanished and left behind her medical equipment. Gypsy had told her neighbor about a relationship she was having with somebody online. This neighbor informed the Springfield police about it. The Springfield Police Department started searching for her and reviewed her Facebook page with records that Facebook had sent to them after requesting information regarding the page. They found messages tying her and Nicholas Godejohn to the murder. With the IP address of their Facebook pages, they were able to track them down and found that they were in Big Bend, Wisconsin. Missouri's Greene County Sheriff's Office homicide detectives traveled to Wisconsin to capture them and question them. The Big Bend Police Department and Waukesha County Sheriff's Office raided the Godejohn family Big Bend home and arrested them. Both surrendered to the police and were taken into custody without further incident. There was a warrant to search this home as well, and officers did so. The knife used to murder Dee Dee Blanchard was recovered and collected by the Greene County Sheriff's Office. Both Nicholas and Gypsy were taken to the Big Bend Police Department station. They were then booked into the Waukesha County Jail to await extradition to Missouri. On June 16, 2015, Nicholas and Gypsy appeared in front of Waukesha County Magistrate Laura Lau. They were first appointed to defense attorney Erin Menden. They were ordered to have no contact with one another, and their bail was set to $1 million while they awaited extradition. Prosecutor Kevin Osborne was present as well and believed they were a flight risk to society. On June 29, 2015, they had their first hearing in State District Court and were brought into the courtroom wearing shackles and a jail jumpsuit. They appeared with a new attorney specialized in extraditions, Ronald Sunderhouse. Prosecutor Leslie Boyce was there to officially request extradition. Both Nicholas and Gypsy did not fight their extraditions and were granted permission to be transported back to Missouri by Wisconsin State District Judge Michael Boren. At this point, Judge Boren revoked their bail and ordered that they remain in jail until the Greene County Sheriff's Office picked them up. This was according to the documents written by the court reporter Catherine Fuss. 30 days after the hearing, Nicholas and Gypsy were transported to the Greene County Jail in Springfield, Missouri. The detectives who had traveled to Wisconsin to investigate them traveled back to Greene County with the knife that had been used to kill Dee Dee. The knife had been mailed to Godejohn's home by Nicholas, most likely to hide it from the police in Missouri. The knife tested positive for blood, and the blood on it was discovered to be Dee Dee Blanchard's. Both Nicholas Godejohn and Gypsy Blanchard were denied bond and ordered to remain in custody. Greene County Magistrate Andy Hosmer made sure that they would not be able to freely roam the streets because they were presumed to be a danger to society. Nicholas Godejohn was charged with first-degree murder and armed criminal action. Gypsy Blanchard was charged with second-degree murder. Dan Patterson, the prosecutor in this case, believed that this was an extraordinary and unusual case and chose to not seek the death penalty against them. Both pleaded not guilty at first to their charges. Gypsy was represented by public defense attorney Mike Stanfield. When Stanfield obtained Gypsy's medical records, a plea bargain was offered to her. The plea bargain stated that she would receive a sentence of up to 10 years in prison if she pleaded guilty to her murder charge. In 2016, Gypsy obeyed these orders and pleaded guilty. She was sentenced immediately to 10 years in prison, with the possibility of parole after serving 8. She was released on parole in December 2023 before New Year's. On the other hand, Nicholas Godejohn hired his own defense attorney, Dwayne Perry. Nicholas complained about Perry before his trial in 2018, sending a letter to the court claiming that Perry was not taking his case seriously and that he would rather get an attorney from the public defender's office. The judge in this case, David Jones, denied his request for a new attorney and asked Nicholas to work with Perry. His defense claimed that his autism caused diminished capacity and made him more gullible to do things that others told him to do. In this case, Nicholas had killed Dee Dee because Gypsy told him to, and he listened because he was so in love with her. After being found competent to stand trial, Nicholas's trial was delayed at least once because prosecutors requested a second psychiatric exam. The defense claimed that Nicholas Godejohn had a brain intelligence quotient of 82. In November 2018, his trial finally started. No plea deal was reached for Nicholas and Gypsy. Gypsy agreed to an offer that would allow her to testify at the murder trial. He was going to have a bench trial where the judge would decide the verdict, but then change his mind and seek a jury trial. Within an hour and a half, the jury was seated. In the opening arguments, the prosecution claimed that Nicholas had planned out the murder for over a year. His defense brought up his autism and claimed that he would do whatever Gypsy told him to do. According to them, the one to blame for the murder was Gypsy and not Nicholas. Sexually explicit text messages were presented the next day, and as well other messages of them discussing getting the knife to kill Dee Dee. In some of these messages, Nicholas asked for details about Dee Dee's bedroom and of her sleeping habits. The video of his interrogation and murder confession was shown as well. On the third day of the trial, Gypsy voluntarily testified despite not being required to. She claimed that she did consider having Nicholas kill her mother to end the abuse she was inflicting on her, but then also consider becoming pregnant by Nicholas to have a child, which would force her mother, Dee Dee, to accept their relationship. She said that she gave Nicholas the knife to kill Dee Dee, but at the same time stole baby clothes from Walmart in case she had changed her mind and wanted to pursue the second plan. Lastly, she claimed that Nicholas never told her what he thought about this second plan. By the fourth day, both sides in the trial had rested their cases. The jurors could either find him guilty or not guilty. 2 hours after they were sent to deliberate, a verdict was reached. Nicholas Godejohn was found guilty of first-degree murder, armed criminal action, but he was found not guilty of involuntary manslaughter and second-degree murder. He awaited sentencing for 3 months. Judge David Jones planned to have his sentences be run concurrently. In February 2019, Nicholas was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, a mandatory sentence for being convicted of first-degree murder. He as well received another 25 years for his armed criminal action charge, but this one would be served at the same time as a life sentence. After sentencing, he was housed in the Fulton Reception Center and Diagnostic Center in Fulton, Missouri, to be processed and assigned to a state prison. As of right now, Nicholas has been serving his sentence at the Potosi Correctional Center, a state prison in Mineral Point, Missouri. His defense attorney, Dwayne Perry, filed a motion asking for a new trial. The notice of appeal claimed that it was inappropriate to show the jury the comments that Nicholas Godejohn made about wanting to have sex with Dee Dee, and that these comments had nothing to do with the trial. There was also a complaint claiming that the prosecutor should not have sought to interview a psychiatrist who had conducted a second evaluation. Judge Jones was unable to decide whether the defense deserved a new trial, so he sent this appeal over to the Missouri Court of Appeals. This case was heard at the appeals court, and videos of his co-defendant Gypsy Rose Blanchard emotionally manipulating Nicholas Godejohn and teaching him to use a murder knife were shown. There was also evidence showing that Nicholas and Gypsy were constantly in contact via video calls. This appeal, however, was denied. Nicholas did not agree with the decision and parted ways with his attorney Dwayne Perry, which is what he had been requesting for years. In 2023, he was assigned to public defender Tyler Coyle, who filed a new appeal requesting a new trial. This appeal remains pending. I will keep you posted with any updates. I normally do on my TikTok page, Strawberry Ink. Thank you for listening, and please share this podcast to someone you know who may be interested in true crime. Don't forget to follow the podcast and like this episode for more content. Till next time, goodbye.